Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FVR GT season finale here at Deep Forest Raceway. It's season 3, round 9, and the championship is yet to be decided. In case you're wondering what track we are at, it is there for you to see on the screen. We're in the deepest forest here in Gran Turismo for 34 laps of racing to decide the fate of the championship. It is between two drivers, Ate Timgren and Jensen Taylor. The Finn leading the way by 4 points over his British rival, but only one can be crowned champion by the end of the race. Who will win it? We'll have to wait and see, but before we find out, let's see how these drivers line up on the grid for today's race at the end of the 10-minute qualifying session. Like usual, from back to front, Kino starts in 10th place on the 6th row of the grid in that Nissan GTR. He starts ahead behind Cameron Hill in the Lexus, who starts in 9th place tonight. Just 7 tenths off pole position was James. He starts in 8th place behind his BCR teammate Xavier Maynard, who is rocking a special livery for tonight's race. It is his final race with the BCR team, and the blue hint you can see on the side pod is a throwback to the first livery he ran on Gran Turismo back during the COVID pandemic, where he ran an NHS themed livery, a nice touch of blue onto the bright green fluorescent BCR car. Going back through the grid into the top 6, Evan Dalton, only 6 tenths off pole position, starts in 6th place behind Piero in the Ferrari in 5th. On the 2nd row of the grid, Maurizio starts 4th place, just 3 tenths off of pole position, and it's myself in 3rd, also 3 tenths off pole position. And the front row is locked out by our 2 championship protagonists. It's Ate Timgren in 2nd, Jensen Taylor on pole. The Brit getting one up on his championship rival, the Lexus, beating the Porsche by 2 tenths of a second in the qualifying session. Will that give Jensen the upper hand going into the race? We're not going to waste too much time in getting this race underway. Sorry, I was just checking to see that the audio was working, and it wasn't, but I had my volume on mute. Of course it wouldn't work because I was listening to it with no sound. Just going to make the announcement real quick that we are live. And without further ado, hello everyone joining us in the chat. Let me know in the chat if you haven't seen the outcome of this race. Who do you think will take race victory or championship victory? Will it be going to Finland? Will it be going to Great Britain? We'll have to wait and see. Jensen in the chat saying that Evan to win. We'll have to wait and see. Anything is possible from what we've seen this season. And so, without further ado, let's press play and get this race underway. Oh, my computer's crashed. Oh, fantastic. Well, we won't be without many stats for the start of this race, but oh well, we'll get them up throughout the race. The lights are counting down for one final time this seasoning. 5 red lights. And we go racing here in Deep Forest for the Swiss Grand Prix. It's a good start for Jensen off the line. Here comes Nathan Marriott on the outside, alongside the runner-up in the championship as it stands. The Brit swooping around the outside of the Lexus, going through the first corner and promotes himself into the lead of the race. Jensen has a snap on the exit of the first corner, nearly wipes out the Huracan going through the first corner, but from 3rd on the grid, it's myself that leads going through the first sector. Jensen crucially staying ahead of his champion championship rival through the first couple of corners. Piero helping his teammate get up into the lead of the race, just slots into 4th place for now, but a long train of cars making their way through the middle sector. Evan Dalton's had a bit of an incident. He's fallen back towards the back of the pack and a long way off for a spin at the exit of turn 3. But it's a race that is between Jensen and Ate, but it's myself that leads down the back straight through turn 12 and 13, approaching the heavy braking hairpin of turn 14. Ate now going alongside his championship rival, the two at the top, fighting for second in tonight. The Porsche on the inside of the Lexus, down and towards turn 14. Piero might try and follow him through on the inside. Jensen's demoted down to 3rd, having started on pole position. The Lamborghini Huracan's going to lead the field away down the start-finish straight and lead at the end of the first lap of 34. In the background, that's Cameron Hill and Kino going side by side through the final corner. The Nissan and the Lexus going wheel to wheel. Up front, Ate going to challenge for the lead of the race, late on the brakes and down the inside in towards the first corner. The Lamborghini's going to try and swoop it round the outside. They're 3 abreast going through turn 1. Jensen trying to find his way through on the inside, but he's compromised his exit, and the other Squadra Italia car will drive on past on the outside. Jensen might lose another position because Bader Biggs looking to try and gain a position. Maurizio in 5th place, looking to try and take positions away from one of the championship protagonists. But Jensen from pole down to 4th in 2 laps is not the start he would have hoped for in tonight's race to challenge for the title. Up front, it's still Nathan that leads the race from our current championship leader. Of course, Nathan is fighting for the constructors with his teammate Piero, trying to gain back 14 points, I think it is, on the Spider GT team if they are to proclaim victorious in that championship. Ate's not holding his breath though. He's going late on the brakes, down the inside, in towards the first corner. They're 2 by 2 by 2, following formation. But except this isn't the formation lap, this is the race, and they are flat out down the back down the start finish straight. Ate takes the lead of the race and leads here in Deep Forest, crucially ahead of his championship rival. How does Nathan defend this? He parks his car in the middle of the circuit. Does Jensen go left? Does he go right? He pulls over to the inside, late on the brakes, down the inside. The Brit now up into 2nd place, unless the Lamborghini can hold it round the outside. He's tried it once, but he can't do it again. Jensen now up into 2nd place, and has his championship rival in front of him, in plain sight, to fight for the Season 3 championship. Behind them, Xavier Maynard's gotten ahead of Maurizio Veldhuis in the battle for 5th place. James following closely behind, waiting to capitalise on a potential move or a mistake in front of them. Kino as well on the mediums has just dropped off the back of Cameron Hill going through the middle sector. But the top 2 in this race are the top 2 in the championship. Ate and Jensen fighting it out on the racetrack to see who will claim victory in the Drivers' Championship. They are separated by just 4 points going into this race. So if they were to finish 1 and 2, the victor of this race will claim victory in the Drivers' Championship as well. Maurizio getting the move done on Xavier Maynard down towards turn 14. How does Zav fight this? Does he work with Maurizio to try and close up that gap through the top 4, which have just started to pull away from the rest of the field? Just sits behind the Lexus for now, and it's going to bide his time in this race. Piero a little bit wide through the first corner, just losing a little bit of touch with his teammate who's keeping up with the front 3, the top 4, having pulled away from the cabin crew and the BCR teams behind. 2 trains have begun to form early on between the 4 drivers inside of the top 4 and those 4 behind. Maurizio leading the 2 BCR drivers. Xavier Maynard ahead of his teammate James, who's now in 7th place. Car number 9 will be looking to finish the season strong, having had a tough season compared to last. Has been used to fighting at the front, but has often found himself in the midfield during a lot of the races this season. Did lead laps, well, half a lap at Road Atlanta before picking up a time penalty on the opening lap. Xavier Maynard's late on the brakes to the inside contact. I think that was James hitting the back of Maurizio. That's opened the door for Cameron on the inside. The Lexus and the Mercedes are going to go side by side in the long run down towards turn 1, but the Mercedes of James just gets ahead for now. Cameron's going to try and find a line, find his run down the start-finish straight in towards the first corner. The race leaders are side by side, or they were temporarily. I think Jensen backed out of that move. Cameron on the inside, he's hit his teammate in towards turn 1. Maurizio going to try the switchback on the inside to retake the position off his teammate, but ultimately that drops James down into 8th place. And now behind the 2 cabin crew drivers that are between the 2 BCR drivers. And whilst all that's happening, it's allowed the front 4 to pull away from the rest of the pack. Nathan, Marriott and Pierre are going to have the best seats in the house for watching this fight for the championship. Meanwhile, a slight mistake from Cameron. He's opened the door for James to move himself up into 7th place. A time penalty as well for the Brit in the Lexus. He'll have to serve that at the penalty gate just before turn 14, coming up in a couple of seconds. But like I was saying, the 2 Squadra Italia cars have the best seat in the house as they watch this championship fight unfold in front of them. How involved they get in this fight, we'll have to wait and see. The Lamborghini sliding its way through the exit of turn 14 as he follows the driver trying to retake the lead of the Drivers' Championship, having won it after the race at Kyoto. But a costly mistake in the fuel at Monza means that Ate retook the championship lead with a race victory last time out. Jensen is the hunter in the championship, and he's also the hunter on the racetrack. Ate, being the hunted, has been hunted all season long. He's led the majority of the championship. Jensen's really come alight in the final couple of races this season, picking up a few wins, several podiums, as have the front 2. And they've been pushing each other every step of the way. Everyone starting this race on the medium compound tyres will be looking to go about 20 laps before they can pit onto the soft compound tyre to take them to the end of the race. Mentioned before about the special one-off livery on the BCR car number 27. Xavier Maynard running a blue accent to the door, to the side of that Mercedes. A mistake perhaps from Jensen. The Lamborghini almost pulling alongside the Lexus on the exit to turn 14, and the gap has opened up slightly between the front 2. Is Nathan going to challenge for a move in towards turn 1? Or is he going to work with the man that took him out in Mount Panorama? Gets perilously close to the back of the Lexus going in towards the first corner, but it doesn't decide to challenge. Jensen down towards turn 1. But like I was saying, the one-off livery on that Mercedes has been setting some quick lap times here tonight. He's gotten a little bit of a gap. It's about maybe about a second between the 2, but has dropped off the pace of the front 4. And it has been a tricky season for the Brits. Used to fighting for podiums and race wins like his teammate, but has found himself often fighting in the midfield, not having the best of times in a car that he's been so successful in the past. But 10 minutes into the final race of the season, and Ate is leading the field away. He has got the fastest lap of the race, but if they finish 1 and 2, the fastest lap point will not matter in the standings. With the points available, of course, there's only 4 points between them in the championship, and there's 6 points difference between finishing first and second. So for that fastest lap to really count tonight, they're going to have to, well, both of them will not have to win the race. It's going to have to be one of the Squadra Italia drivers behind they're the most likely candidates out of everyone else to have a shot at race victory. And it's been a great result so far for the Italian team. Third and fourth in this race, hunting down Spider GT in the team's championship, being led solely or mainly by Ate, who is at the front of the field. Unfortunately for them, if they were to win the Constructors' Championship, they would have to get a 1-2, with Ate finishing in 8th or lower, and as it stands, does not show any signs of slipping up. 8 laps into this race, Jensen's going purple through sector 2 and has now taken a new fastest lap of the race, 1:26 flat. Of course, we are on the medium compound tyres. It's pretty much a guarantee that these guys will be going long in this race. The pit for the softs at the end. Further down the grid, Evans been catching up to Kino for 9th place after the Irishman made a mistake on the opening lap and was finding himself facing a barrier with quite poetically an ambulance on the other side. If you want the race photo from that crash, it's available in the race photos chat on Discord. I made sure to get a beautiful angle of his Mercedes AMG at this barrier here, where the race leaders are now flying their way through in the first sector, with Ate leading this train of cars, kicking up some dust on the apex of turn 5. We're on board with the inside the cockpit of the Lamborghini Huracan, watching the front 2 in this race, battling it out for not only race victory tonight, but victory in the Drivers' Championship. Will we be crowning a new champion tonight, or will Ate go 2 for 2 and be the first FVR GT double champion? We'll have to wait and see. But as it stands, the Finn picking up 22 points tonight will be enough for him to take the championship lead. Drivers behind making their way through the hairpin, the slowest corner on the track, and one of the slowest corners in the game, of course, has been adjusted. Changes have been made to this track going into GT7 from when it was last in a Gran Turismo game. The final corner has been made tighter and the back straight has been made longer to promote a little bit more overtaking. But in the early phases of this race, we've not seen much overtaking between any of the front 4. Of course, I got myself to the front of the field, and then the top 2 in this race went on by, but until, well, after then, I think it's been turned into more of a strategic, tactical race, as opposed to a foot to the floor, elbows out approach. I think Jensen's more than happy to keep pace with Ate, save a little bit of fuel, conserve his tyres to push in the second half of the race. We've seen in some other races this season how saving a bit of fuel can be crucial to gain track position on the cars around you. Of course, Piero lost out a huge amount of time in Monza, having less fuel than myself, and that drops him into the clutches of the 2 BCR drivers, whereas he was fighting a little bit more towards the front. And likewise, all the way back to season 1 at the circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, we've seen how crucial it is to have fresher tyres during a stint, how much of an impact they can play in your lap times, and how much easier it is to make an overtake. But as it stands, we're not seeing any towards the front of the field. Maurizio Valduis has caught up to the back of Xavier Maynard through the middle sector. He's slowly but should have been closing down the lap closing down the gap, sorry. 2 tenths quicker on the last lap with a 26.6 compared to a 26.8 for the car in front, and behind them it's a bit of deja vu with one BCR car ahead of a cabin crew. Of course, BCR, they haven't scored many points this season. They are 6th in the constructors' standings, if we're including Jensen as a constructor. Cabin crew are in 4th place or 3rd. We've got a spinner at the back, and that's Cameron Hill. Round on the exit of turn 14. He's dropped the rear of the car, I'm guessing a little bit too much throttle, a little bit too soon, and that drops the Brit down to the back of the pack in last place. And all the hard work he's put into attack the back of James in the last few laps has all been undone. We'll have to reset and go again if he's to score some decent points in this race. There are only 10 drivers on tonight's grid, so if everyone finishes the race, they will be scoring points. For some points more crucial for some than others, of course. Every driver is in their individual battles, some meaning more than others. I think the one that everyone's got their eyes on tonight is the one at the top of the table between Ate Timgren and Jensen Taylor. The Porsche leading the Lexus on the racetrack and in the championship. But Jensen's going to send it down the inside here at lap 12, late on the brakes, and takes the lead of the race, and with it the championship, if he can keep that position by the end of the race. Will Ate fight back, or is it going to be his turn to sit in behind the Lexus and save a bit of fuel? He pulls up alongside down the start-finish straight, and they are neck and neck over the line to start lap 13. Jensen has the inside line for turn 1. Ate lifts off early, concedes the position, slots into second place, but could this be a championship defining move for Jensen Taylor, who takes the lead of the race? And behind them, the 2 Squadra Italia cars have just dropped off the back of the leaders a little bit, about 9 tenths to a second maybe, separate the Lamborghini from the Porsche. But they are working together as they have done all season to try and close down that gap. In my opinion, the best looking cars on the grid, but that might be because I designed them. Obviously quite inspired, if you haven't guessed already, by the Lamborghini IMSA that took part in the 24 Hours of Daytona earlier on in the year. A penalty for Xavier Maynard's going to drop him back through the field. He might only lose 1 position though to Maurizio Veltquist, who darts over to the inside and gets the position before they get to the braking zone. Xavier's going to fight this back down the inside, and that's a beautiful move if he can keep it. He's gone a little bit deep though. Maurizio's going to do the old up and under, get a good traction on the exit of the corner, and pulls up alongside the Mercedes down the pit straight. The Dutchman has the inside line going through the final corner. Has he got the momentum going in towards turn 1? Xavier's going to sit in behind. We're on board with the Mercedes AMG. Is he going to dart over to the inside? Lifts off early, saves a bit of fuel, and we'll just tuck in behind the Lexus for now. Jensen sliding his way through the tunnel in the middle sector through turn 7, sorry. Leading this race on lap 14, having started on pole position, dropped down to 4th place at the end of lap 2, but has worked his way back to the front of the field, and currently is in prime position to win this Drivers' Championship, although he's got his competitor, his rival, right up behind him. You can look at the throttle in applications. Ate is lifting off early into the corner, lifting and coasting, saving a lot of fuel in the process. What about behind? Maurizio still leads, recently leads Xavier Maynard down towards the turn 14 hairpin behind them. James in a lot of clean air, running pretty much by himself. Cameron's gotten past Kino for 9th place and can hunt down Evan, who's moved his way up into 8th after having his spin on the first lap. We'll keep an eye on that three-way fight that could potentially unfold in this race. We're nearly halfway through the Swiss Grand Prix here at Deep Forest Raceway. And Jensen leads at a here on lap 15, has got the fastest lap of the race as well, just about breaking into the 1 minute 25s on those medium tyres. And look how much they are pushing through turn 11. They are getting perilously close to the white line on the outside of the curb. Couple millimetres over it, and they're going to get a time penalty. Ate, though, he's now pulling alongside his championship rival down the inside in towards the hairpin, and he's retaken the lead of the race on lap 15 and moves himself back up into first place in the Drivers' Championship. How will Jensen respond? Will he attack? Will he just sit back and conserve his tyres, conserve the fuel? We've seen all season long how well the Porsche is at its tyre management. I think Jensen's going to sit in behind for now. The two Squadra Italia cars still keeping up with the front two, watching them battle it out for the championship. We're riding back on board to the Huracan with the two leaders in front of him. But we are cutting to inside the cockpit of Cameron Hill because he's side by side with Kino down the start finish straight in towards the first corner. The Nissan GTR on the inside of the Lexus RCF. Kino's done it on the inside, just about closes the door for Cameron to not be able to attempt a switchback, and the Dutchman is up into 9th place. Fighting at the front and at the back of the grid tonight. Action all over the field. Sate that leads the train of cars down towards turn 14. That was close between the Lamborghini of Nathan Marriott, almost hitting the back of the Lexus, and gets a huge tank slapper. Great save through the exit of turn 14. House lost him a little bit of time to Jensen, but I'd imagine that would have been a butt-clenching moment for both Brits as Jensen saw that Lamborghini getting bigger and bigger in his rearview mirror. He looks for a move on the inside. Ate leaves the door open for Jensen to have a look on through, but they're going to go side by side through the exit of turn 1, up the hill and towards turn 2. Ate lifts off, but that allows Nathan Marriott to try and have a look around the outside. How much he wants to get involved in this battle, I don't know, but I do know because it's me. But I'm of course not going to tell you how I'm feeling at this very moment, following the two championship protagonists. But one of them is a rival in the Constructors. How much do you get involved in an unlikely situation of picking up a 16-point gain over a driver that's been flawless all season for the Squadra Italia team to claim victory in the Constructors' Championship? What a story that would be if a Lamborghini and a Ferrari team were to win the team's championship. At the minute, though, it's looking like it's not to be for Squadra Italia. But I must say, both drivers have fought very hard to be in the position they've been. Let's give a round of applause for the two drivers. I really hope nothing bad happens to either of them in tonight's race. And unlike typical Ferrari teams in motorsport, let's hope they get the strategy right. Maybe some viewers that are aware of what I could potentially be foreshadowing in this race. Of course, for those of you who weren't involved in tonight's action, we'll just have to wait and see. We're on lap 18 of 34, over halfway through the season finale here at Deep Forest Raceway, the host for round 9 of season 3. and it's been a season of ups and downs for drivers and commentators. I've had my slip up every now and again. At the front of the field, Jensen leads Ate Timgren in this race. Maurizio defending from Zav behind him. The two drivers fighting for a spot inside the top 5 to finish the season strong. Maurizio, of course, he's had a brilliant season thus far, picking up 2 podiums along the way. Several 4th and 5th places, though. But generally has been consistently inside the top 6 or 7. As for the driver behind, it's been quite a few ups and downs, and a poor run of form in the middle of the season from Mount Panorama to Daytona, with 3 consecutive 9th place finishes for the Brits, but it has recently picked up form at Kyoto 2 weeks ago. Similar story for his teammates as well. Been battling in the bottom ends of the top 10, but tonight is running in a solid 7th place with a decent gap to a driver who's had quite a few on-track battles with. Evan 8th on the racetrack, 9th in the drivers' standings going into this race. He just needs to outscore James to hold that position in the championship. But that's a move late on the brakes. I just about saw it at the end of the tunnel. Sav on the inside of Maurizio in towards turn 14. The Brit moves himself up into 5th place. But the Lexus of Maurizio's got a great run through the final corner. They run side by side through the flat-out swooping left-hander of turn 18. They run side by side down the hill in towards turn 1. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? Maurizio on the inside line keeps 5th place for now, but I think Zav going to try his best to fight this back. We're on board from the front bumper of the Mercedes AMG. Now with a beautiful view of the back of that Lexus once again. The front 4 have been rather glued together for the first 20 laps of this race. 30 minutes of on-track action. And it's Jensen that leads Ate from Nathan from Piero. The top 4 in this race, separated by the best part of 1.5 seconds here on lap 20. As we get ever closer to the pit stop window, are we going to see any undercutters pitting early off of the medium compound tyres to bolt on a set of softs to end this race? Jensen looks like he's coming into the pits, as does Ate. The mind games are on show tonight. The top 2 faking coming into the pits. Ate giving us a bit of a wiggle as he crosses the start-finish straight line to start lap 21. But the 2 Squadra Italia cars behind not off-put by that little fake dive into the pits from the race leaders, as Xavier Maynard's gone round the outside of Maurizio in towards the first corner and up into 5th place, moves himself back on pit to the top 5. With his windscreen wipers wiping away, he has a clear track in front of him, or does he? Or does he, I say, because Maurizio sent it back down the inside. They run side by side through the tunnel at turn 7, now into turn 8. Maurizio flashing his lights and gets the position back up into 5th place. A little bit of contact in that move. But what's that saying? All's fair in love and war. Oh, Ate's wide through turn 14, a little bit too late on the brakes. And that's given Jensen a little bit of breathing room. But on lap 21, will we see anyone diving into the pits? Jensen is into the pits, Ate stays out, as is Piero, who's clattered into the pit barrier. The Frenchman is absolutely driven flat out into the pit lane divider, going into the pits. What on earth happened there? He tries to fake diving into the pits, pulls out too late, and is head first into the pit divider at 150 miles an hour. And with that crash, unfortunately, we have lost Piero. Rest in peace. Probably 100 odd G impact into the barrier down at the pit lane. But to provide the lovely ladies and gentlemen who are tuning in to the stream, the previous lap you may have noticed Ate and Jensen faking going into the pits. And then what I immediately said to Piero was we should try that on the next lap. Of course, we're not in this championship fight, but had the best view of it. Having said that, one lap later, Piero then fails to fake going into the pits, pulled out too late, and has picked himself up a 3-second time penalty, lost about 14 seconds in the process, and is now running in 8th place, just ahead of Kino, who is yet to make a pit stop. But the comedic timing was certainly hilarious. From a race result, not so much. Ate is into the pits and Nathan follows him in. How powerful is the undercut here at Deep Forest Raceway? Has Jensen Taylor strategically moved himself up into a championship winning position by pitting one lap earlier than his rivals around him? We'll have to wait and see. The top four are all into the pits. Jensen rounds the final corner. His name naturally moving up in the leaderboard. Fuel still going into the back of the Porsche 911. Ate can see his rival going into turn one. And look at the gap that Jensen has. It's about 2 or 3 seconds as they get to the exit of turn one. Ate's got some work to do if he's to be victorious in the championship. The undercut was certainly the right call to make at this stage of the race, but can those soft tyres make it to the end? Only time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. The Porsche is good on its tyres, so that might allow Ate to push a little bit more towards the end of this race. Evan now running in 4th place, but is yet to make a pit stop. And after that little pit lane shenanigan, Piero has now dropped behind Bada Big, who was 14 seconds behind him before the pit stop. I'm not sure what has happened to Zavin all this. I think he's had a slow pit stop. I think the Lexus was able to save a little bit more fuel, and that's exactly what I was talking to saying earlier about how different levels of fuel can open up these gaps and give you an advantage later on in the race. Piero setting the fastest lap that he's done on this race as he tries to go round the outside of Maurizio Valtteri in towards turn one. The Ferrari putting his foot to the floor with the grip on those soft compound tyres, swoops round the outside of the Dutchman. They still go side by side through turn two, but by the time they get to turn three, the Ferrari's in front, but has picked up a time penalty and rather spoils the mood of that overtake. All that hard work is about to be undone by the time he gets to the penalty gate to serve that time penalty. But these two battling on track, depending on how hard they fight, will allow Zav to catch back up. Meanwhile, behind, James has pitted for another set of medium compound tyres, so has to pit again. But from what I have heard, he accidentally selected the medium compound tyres for this second stint as opposed to the softs, which is why he was a little bit unhappy at the end of this race. Maurizio now back up ahead of Piero, having after Piero served that time penalty, go flat out through the final corner. Piero now pulls over to the right hand side of the track, the left hand side of your screen as you view it, but darts back over to the inside, late on the brakes, down the inside, a beautiful fake to the outside. Can he slow it down in time? Leaves the door open for Maurizio to try the cutback on there through turn 1. Piero nearly forced wide and off the track, but just about keeps it within track limits. And it was the outside on the last lap, the inside on this lap through turn 1, and beautifully moves his way back up into 4th place, a position that he's owned for the first 20 laps of this race before he made that lapse of judgment going into the pits, but has now retaken the position back. Ferrari 458 struggling in a straight line. We're on board with the Lexus RCF of Maurizio Veltris. Is he going to send one down the inside in towards turn 14? You bet he is. He's later on the brakes. Piero's going to try and hold it best he can round the outside. Nearly runs himself off track, but keeps it within track limits. And with that run through the final corner, well, the final proper corner, is enough to keep him in 4th place. By the time they get to the start line, would it be enough by the time they get to turn 1? Maurizio darting down the inside and is already ahead by the time they get to the braking zone. This could be a tough fight for Piero, but he's done it before in that Ferrari. But we've seen how well Maurizio has defended in the past, notably in Fuji, Kyoto, you name any track on the calendar, and he's always been involved in the action for positions commonly in the top 5. Back up with our race leader, Jenson Taylor, hasn't finished a feature race off the podium this season. Likewise with the car behind him on track. Ahead in the championship though going into this race, but as it stands, with their maximum points going the way of the Brits, will take the championship lead, and with it the championship trophy. It's new fastest lap of the race for Ate, but that in itself won't be enough to win this championship. Evan and James having a bit of a scrap down at turn 14. I don't know if there was contact there, but Evan running a little bit wide through the corner. That allowed Tiger to get back up into 7th place. In front of them, Piero and Maurizio down towards turn 1. The Frenchman on the inside moves up into 4th place, and behind them both AMGs are going side by side. It's the BCR Mercedes on the inside of the Cuban Grog Motorsports Mercedes, and it's yellow and black in front of orange, white and green, but they still go side by side through the first sector, through turn 2 and 3. Now the left-hander of turn 4, and that's beautiful by Evan Dalton, who's up into 7th place, kept his foot in. It's not often you see an overtake down towards turn 3 or 4, but he's made it work on those soft compound tyres, of course. James has to pit again in this race, and I'm surprised actually he's not doing it now to get the most life out of the soft compound tyres. He might just wait for the fuel to go down to have a shot at the fastest lap to salvage anything from this race. And cut to an on board of Maurizio's Lexus RCF, hunting down Piero's Ferrari 458. You can see that Lexus gaining and gaining and gaining every second. He's tucked up behind in the slipstream of the Ferrari. He pulls over to the outside. Piero defends him in towards turn 1. Maurizio going wide, cutting inside, now runs alongside with the Ferrari up the hill through turn 2. Piero has the inside for turn 3, but Maurizio's going to put his foot flat on the floor and round the outside of turn 3. That's once again another beautiful overtake at that corner. 2 times in 2 laps that we've seen overtakes at turn 3, both of which on the outside. This is great racing here at the season finale of the FVR GT League, Season 3, Round 9 at De Forest Raceway. A track that made its debut at the first season of FVR GT, and it made its return as the season finale this time round. The last time we were at this track, it was won by Rami Azam, who isn't with us anymore. He's still alive, but he's not racing with us anymore, is what I was meant to say. And the podium, actually none of the drivers that finished on the podium in that race are on the grid in tonight's race. Rick and Tyler Davison were 2nd and 3rd respectively the last time we visited Deep Forest. And the highest driver who is on this grid was Cameron, who finished in 4th place. His teammate Maurizio, though, having to defend from mine down towards turn 1. Once again, Piero running slightly wider than he usually does, but that will give him the run up the hill in towards what seems to be a good overtaking opportunity at turn 3. But on this occasion, he can't do it around the outside. And look who's approaching on the scene. His last race for the BCR team. Has won many championships in other leagues and events. He has participated in endurance races and whatnot. A finish inside the top 5, I think, will be a strong finish to what has been a rather unfortunate season for the Brits. But it's deja vu once again. The action in the championship not happening on track at the minute. Maurizio on the inside, Piero trying to find his way the long way round on the outside in the battle for 4th place on the racetrack. These 2 drivers running 3rd and 5th in the championship as well. But it would take a big mistake from Maurizio for Piero to leapfrog him in the Drivers' Championship. Maurizio defensive once again in towards turn 1, pulling over all the way up to the left-hand side of the pit wall. Who's going to be last of the late breakers down towards turn 1? They are side by side, door to door, through the first corner. Is Piero going to be shown gravel and dirt? No, he's not. Just tucks in behind the Lexus, get through the first corner, and we'll have to sit behind once again through the first sector. But the top 2 in the race is what everyone is paying the most attention to, I'd imagine. They went into this race separated by only 4 points. And as it stands, Jenson Taylor has got himself into the lead of the race, having pitted the lap earlier than his championship rival. Leapfrogged him up into the lead of the race, having started on pole position, and at the minute, with only 4 laps to go, is on course to claim his first FVR GT title. It's not over yet though. We've seen more dramatic finishes for Grand Prix in the past. Piero back up into 4th place with a move through turn 14. We're on board with Maurizio Veltwist, who pulls over to the inside, watching that Ferrari drop further and further behind as they make their way in towards the first corner. Back down the inside, Piero's going to try and fight it on the outside. Can't quite get alongside as they exit turn 1. Can he challenge up the hill in towards turn 2 or turn 3? He can't on this occasion, but this is a fight that I think might see itself to the checkered flag between these 2 drivers. And it could become a 3-way fight, with Zav quickly approaching the scene in the battle for 4th place. Jenson Taylor has 3 laps to go before he is potentially crowned your Season 3 champion. Meanwhile, Maurizio Veltwist and Piero Dezern are once again side by side going in towards turn 14. The Lexus on the inside of car number 41 as they attack the exit of the corner. Maurizio up into 4th place, but Piero once again will use his magic to try and find his way past that Lexus down towards the first corner. They are side by side, door to door, as they cross the line for the 32nd time this evening. You can see the Ferrari struggling to even pull alongside the Lexus in towards the first corner, but he's trying to use the grip that the Ferrari has to work it on the outside of the first corner. This time round he is unsuccessful, and there's a Mercedes AMG looming large behind them. Xavier Maynard has caught up to this battle for 4th place. We now have a 3-way fight for 4th here at this Swiss Grand Prix. Last won by Rami Azam. We're certain to have 3 new drivers on the podium here tonight. Jenson Taylor is about to start the penultimate lap of the race with about a 2-second lead over his rival. But behind, there's this 3-way fight for 4th place. Maurizio defending the inside line from both Piero and Zav, fighting behind. We're at the final stages of the race, the final stages of the championship. Nothing to play for, nothing to lose. Piero's now side by side with Maurizio once again in towards turn 1. This time he has the inside line. He's late on the brakes. He's down the inside. Leaves the door open though for Maurizio to try the old switchback move. They run side by side once again up the hill in towards turn 2. Will it be another round the outside at turn 3 for Maurizio Veltwist? Oh, they get so close to touching. But it's the Dutchman up into 4th place. Piero, whilst attacking the Lexus, has to defend from the Mercedes. And Zav is hot on his heels and looking to finish the season strong, as are these 2 drivers that have been unbelievable all season long. That looked like Zav ran a little bit wide. Indeed, he didn't keep it within track limits. That could be his chance of a 4th place finish over. They nearly run 3 wide in towards turn 14. There's not enough room for Zav to try and find a gap on the inside. What about the outside? Oh, they're 3 wide. Zav on the outside. Through goes Piero on the inside. That's 2 positions and 1 corner for the Frenchman, and a beautiful overtake. But what's happened to Jenson Taylor? The gap between the front 2 has come down dramatically in the last couple of corners. Ate's closed up to the race leader by about a second. Now 8 tenths separating the front 2. Is there going to be one final twist in the tail here at Deep Forest Raceway to decide the champion of Season 3? Jenson carried a dominant lead for so long, but it's become undone. He's struggling for front tyre grip. Look at the wear to his front right compared to the car behind. Ate is pushing and pushing, but there's not many corners left to try and decrown Jenson Taylor. He's got 1 braking zone left. How's your nerves going in towards turn 14? It's going to be close between these 2. The winner takes the championship. Jenson Taylor rounds the final corner in the lead of the race. Has Ate done enough to decrown the Brit? But in the long run up to the line, it can only be won by 1. Jenson Taylor wins the Swiss Grand Prix, and with it is your FVR GT Season 3 World Champion for the first time. Narrowly beaten Ate Timgren to 2nd place, 2 tenths separating the top 2 in the championship across the line. And with Ate picking up the fastest lap of the race, means that Jenson Taylor wins the Drivers' Championship by 1 singular point. 1 point. a fastest lap point that he picked up in Mount Panorama, Fuji, Interlagos or Kyoto. 2 of them fastest laps were crucial to defining this World Championship. Only one race this season where the front 2 haven't picked up a fastest lap point, and that one race at Daytona, that one race at Daytona could have been the difference between Ate winning or losing this championship. Of course, we will go back and watch how the action unfolded behind. Nathan Marriott is going to cross the lines in 3rd to pick up his 2nd podium of the season. Meanwhile, this battle for 4th place continued to rage on, with Maurizio defending the inside from Piero, who's going to try and go around the outside through turn 14. And it's going to be a drag race to the line. Piero, having struggled to even pull up alongside the Lexus in the previous attempts, can he do it this time round? Tucks up in the slipstream of the Lexus. They're side by side. It's a photo finish across the line, but it's the Dutchman that claims 4th place. Maurizio in 4th, Piero in 5th. Sal, in his final race for BCR, finishes in 6th place. Erin Dalton, from facing the ambulance on lap 1, waves to his fans in the grandstand for a solid 7th place finish. Kino, for his first FVR finish of the season, comes across the line in 8th place. And can James take the fastest lap away from Ate? No, he can't. Spinning across the line in style, as is the sponsor on the side of the car. Cameron unable to recover from that earlier mistake. A spin for him at turn 14 sees him cross the line in 10th place. And that officially draws an end to the FVR GT action for Season 3. And boy, we've had a lot of it. That might be the end of the race, but we've got a little bit of a post-race show to show you. The one replay I remembered to save, and that was the post-race donuts celebration. So cue the music, pop the champagne, let's enjoy some donuts while we conclude Season 3 of FVR GT. And so with 9 rounds of racing and 3 sprints that made their debut this season, Jenson Taylor is your Season 3 victor by 1 singular point. 175 points for Jenson, 174 for Ate. In terms of the Constructors' Championship, Spider GT win a 2nd consecutive championship by 20 points to Squadra Italia, and the cabin crew finished 3rd in terms of Constructors. But what a season it's been, from Barcelona all the way through to Deep Forest. We've had lots of action, incidents, chaos and great overtakes along the way. A season that has not been short of drama. 27 drivers have taken part in at least one race this season, with 21 of them scoring points. Just goes to show the competition that we've had this season. 8 different drivers have stood on the podium, but only 3 of them have won a race. Sylvester Gobardi, the only driver to win one singular race this season. Ate and Jenson, the only multiple race winners from Season 3. Of course, Ate went on that 4-race consecutive win streak at the start of the season. Unfortunately, he couldn't stay for some post-race donuts. But where the points were lost further in was when he missed the sprint race at Interlagos. Jenson Taylor picking up 12 points for winning the sprint alone. Now, of course, finished 2nd in that race, so if you take the sprint out of it, then it becomes an awful lot. The story changes. Now, let's put it that way, for the top 2 in the championship. But we've got some formation driving in very different styles. Cabin crew preferring the romantic Mater and Lightning McQueen style, running one driving backwards, the other staring them in the eye. There's been a massive crash going towards turn 14. Evan and Kino, the victims in that. I've not had a cockpit cam view whilst being in spectator cam. Oh no, that's because the crash was so big that it triggered a camera change. But anyway, that will conclude Season 3 of FVR GT. And what a road it's been. Thank you everyone who has tuned in to the live streams and for the drivers that have participated in the races this season. We couldn't have done it without you. I'd like to thank all the stewards as well who have helped out with the incidents that we've had this season, albeit not many. But yeah, to any of the drivers who are still watching, more information, well I say more, we've not had any information about next season will be out in a couple of weeks. I will be sending out a Google form over the next couple of days or weeks to get your views on the season, most notably from the sprint races as well as a couple of other little details. This is possibly the worst ever camera angle for donuts. We could zoom out a little bit, there we go. But yeah, I've waffled on for far too long this season, and it has been an absolute pleasure to commentate on these races. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I might not see you next season, we'll never know. We might have a new man in the box, or woman, or person, hopefully a person. An animal commentating wouldn't be great, unless you spoke dog, or cats, or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to put the maple syrup down because my waffles are far too long. Hope to see a lot of you again next season. But until then, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.